The MCU is rebooting, and it's okay, bro. So a few weeks back, Kevin Feige basically confirmed that we're going to be getting sort of a soft reboot for the MCU after the release of Secret Wars. And during these last few weeks after Kevin Feige made that statement, it's been a 50-50 conversation about whether or not the MCU should or should not reboot. And I just don't get why people are against the idea of rebooting the MCU. And mind you, this is going to be a soft reboot, so obviously there's going to be characters that are going to be recasted, but there are obviously going to be elements of the MCU that's going to stay the same. Like, obviously, Tom Holland's Spider-Man's going to stay. I think he's not going to get recast anytime soon, even though I do think he's gonna die. But obviously the Fantastic Four just got here, Sam Wilson's Captain America, so on and so forth. And having these already established MCU characters that are alive right now interact with these new adaptations of iconic characters is a great thing. And with the reboot, a lot of wrongs that were made during the initial rendition of the MCU can be fixed with a clean slate. And now I think Marvel Studios finally has what they envisioned initially as what they really wanted for their Marvel Cinematic Universe, because now they have everybody at their disposal. And we also have to understand that the MCU being as successful as it was is an absolute miracle. And they built this foundation off the backs of characters that weren't even considered to be Marvel's heavy hitters at that point in time. But now Marvel can start fresh and new with everybody that they want. We have the X-Men, we have Spider-Man, we have the Fantastic Four, we have Thor, we have the Avengers, we have everybody at our disposal. And the stories that can be made are endless at this point. As an example of a wrong that can be fixed with this new version of the MCU is Ultron. And I don't think Age of Ultron is a bad movie, because I think it's a solid 7 out of 10. But the problem is, Ultron is not a one movie villain. He's a villain that you build an entire saga around. And I also don't think that the actors that play these iconic roles should essentially retire the character from the MCU if the character died before the reboot. Chris Evans' Captain America is my favorite character in the MCU, for example. But the thought of never seeing Steve Rogers interact with these other characters because, well, he's not Chris Evans, for example, is not a good way to look at it. And I get it, it's hard to move on from something that you grew up loving for your entire life. But for the better, it's time for us to move forward and let these characters grow outside of their adaptation. And another reason why I think the reboot is necessary and also beneficial is because I think after the reboot, the MCU should be a lot more digestible. And what I mean is that the MCU right now has about 40 plus entries into this current rendition of the MCU. And I think to the average person, I think if somebody wanted to truly follow the MCU from start to finish, or to at least catch up, it's a very daunting task. And if I were Kevin Feige, I would have these entries have more individuality and not have it be forced to connect to the overall grand stage of the MCU if it's not needed. And with the franchise now not being nowhere near as great as it was 6 years ago, now when a reboot is happening, it gives the universe more room to grow and to improve, and they can develop these projects at a slower pace. And now rebooting obviously resets the stakes for the entire MCU, because obviously we're starting with a clean slate, and now these movies can now have time to grow, and now you can build towards whatever you want to build towards, but obviously not lose the individuality of each movie. And that should be the direction the MCU should be going into after the reboot. And recasting these iconic characters brings more eyes and more intrigue towards the product as well. Like, bro, I would love, when they do the reboot, I would love them to redo the Avengers and actually use the original Avengers roster with Iron Man, Hank Pym's Ant-Man, Janet Van Dyne's Wasp, Thor, and the Hulk. Like, seeing a younger Hank Pym interact with the rebooted MCU would be phenomenal. And on top of that, bro, redoing Ultron with Hank Pym being the one to create Ultron is a moneymaker right there, bro. And you know we cannot talk about the reboot without talking about Doomsday and Secret Wars. Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars has the potential to be some of the greatest comic book movies of all time. And at the same time, it has the potential to be two of the worst comic book movies at the same time. And there's no in between. And if Doomsday and Secret Wars are terrible, bro, I don't see how the MCU can rebuild itself without a reboot.